And today we're reacting to how every serial killer died. Serial killers are some of the most they be irking me because they just feel like they just that official, and some of them are because of how sly and grimy they are, but you know, they just so crazy though. Let's get into the video, man. Let's do it, man.
Which was thrown in Florida State Prison's electric chair on January 24th, 1989.
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy finally faced what no courtroom or escape could delay: the end of his control and life. In the days before his execution, Bundy was calm and cooperative. He spent hours with investigators, confessing to more than 30 murders committed between 1974 and 1978. Though most believed the real number was even higher. He offered excruciating detail, but not remorse, saving what he knew as bargaining chips he would never get to spend. At 7:06 a.m., Bundy
What are we bargaining with you for? You be putting you on that chair.
Into the execution chamber. Witnesses included officers, journalists, and relatives of victims. After he was strapped into the wooden chair, electrodes were fixed to his leg and scalp. His final words were simple: "Give my love to my family and friends." When the current hit, 2,000 volts surged through his body for nearly a minute. The smell of burning material filled the room. At 7:16 a.m., a prison physician pronounced him dead. He was 42 years old. Outside, a crowd of 2,000 people celebrated, waving signs, lighting fireworks, and chanting, "Burn, Bundy, burn." The man who once manipulated judges, juries, and victims was finally gone.
Wow.
Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't executed by the state, but his death did come from inside the prison walls.
Oh, yeah, didn't somebody come? I guess they're going to tell us. Somebody came through and handled that, right?
In 1994, Dahmer was serving a 16-life sentence at Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin for taking the lives of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. In prison, That's a long time to be getting after, bro. That's the other thing about them. And mind you, notice how all these are during a certain time period. Like, there is two. They're trying to say there's one in Houston right now with, what's it called? How would you say? The Bayou, Buffalo Bayou. But then apparently there's one in Austin, too, though. Kept a low profile.
So I guess they getting away, but
occasionally made dark jokes about his crimes, angering other inmates. On November 28, 1994, Dahmer was assigned to clean a prison gym bathroom with 2 other inmates, Christopher Scarver and Jesse Anderson. The men were left unsupervised for about 10 minutes. When guards returned, Dahmer was found on the floor with severe head wounds.
Jesus.
Anderson was also critically injured. Scarver later told officers he'd used a metal bar from exercise equipment to commit the act and claimed he was acting under divine orders. Dahmer was taken to a nearby hospital, but was gone. And
that might have actually been some divine order that came through on that one. He might have actually heard that and was like, he's not supposed to be here. Whatever crazy part of his brain, that might have been some divine order that might have took over on that.
An hour later, the
you ain't finna
official
just be bragging to us. Yeah, I did this. I was like, bro, watch out, bro.
Was clearly blunt force trauma. He was 34 years old. His body was cremated per his request. His brain initially preserved for study, but later destroyed after his parents disagreed about its fate. John Wayne Gacy's execution didn't go as planned.
I heard this is a sick motherfucker, boy. Isn't this the guy that dressed up in the clown stuff?
And when there was a problem with the IV, his end lasted much longer than intended. He spent the day in prayer with a Catholic priest, and for his last meal had a bucket of KFC chicken, French fries, fried shrimp, strawberries, and a Diet Coke. Not a Coke, a Diet Coke. Even as he prepared for execution, he couldn't bring himself to risk the sugar. Outside the prison, crowds gathered to celebrate the end of a man who had taken the lives of 33 young men and boys. Shortly after midnight, Gacy was strapped to a gurney in the execution chamber. He appeared calm and even joked with guards. His last reported words were, "Kiss my ass." 2 IV lines were inserted to deliver a 3-chemical sequence meant to end his life within minutes. But before the injection began, something went wrong. One of the tubes clogged, forcing a delay of about 10 to 18 minutes as technicians scrambled to fix the line. And
they trying to over here. The fate is something trying to stop it, bro. We might as well just take an axe to Buddy at this point. But hey, it's not working, bro. Sorry, we tried to do it a little more painless way. We about to put this axe to your skull though.
Find a new vein. Gacy remained awake, restrained on the table. Witnesses described the scene as tense and awkward, with reporters later saying it was a botched performance, comparing it to an amateur surgical procedure. When the flow resumed, he closed his eyes and went quiet. At 12:58 a.m., a prison official pronounced him dead. He was 52 years old. His brain was later removed for study. Nothing special was found. Aileen Wuornos begged the state to execute her. She meant it too, and they accommodated. By her final day, she had spent more than a decade on death row for taking the lives of...
You know who Aileen Wuornos is?
What?
You know who Aileen Wuornos is?
No.
She's a serial killer. You're a female, you're a woman, you would think that you would know about the women serial killers.
Why?
Don't girls stay together?
7 men in 1989.
She killed 7 men in 1989, but
in 1990. Her final years were filled with erratic behavior and conspiracy claims. In a letter to the court, she wrote, "I'm competent. Let me have my execution." She fired her attorneys, accused prison staff of treating her improperly, and told reporters she believed the government wanted her dead. In her last days,
everybody wants your head.
She declined a final meal and instead requested a simple cup of coffee. On the morning of October 9th, 2002, she walked calmly into the execution chamber. Witnesses say she appeared emotionless as she was strapped to the gurney. When asked if she had any final words, she said, "I'll be back," like Independence Day with Jesus.
I'll be back.
Like the movie. Big mothership and all. I'll be back. Whatever the heck that means. At 9:47 a.m., the lethal injection began.
I'll be back is crazy. I'll be back is insane. That's like, bro, make sure she's gone, bro. You know what I'm saying? Make sure she's gone.
Minutes, her breathing slowed, her eyes closed, and doctors confirmed she had passed at 9:53 a.m.
Is this painful, y'all?
She was 46 years old. Richard Ramirez, known as the Nightstalker,
The Nightstalker. I know about him.
Never made it to the gas chamber. Something else got to him first.
Hey, what's good, y'all? I'm back again. And I've been putting a lot of people on to this program called Free Cash for a while now. Check out one of my supporters that had the biggest payout that I've seen yet from all the DMs y'all sent. And I promise you, they've been hitting me up saying that they've tried it and it's worked. They've been getting cashed out, and I love to hear that because it genuinely actually works. And don't think I have not been seeing y'all's comments saying things like it doesn't work. Dior supporting a finesse. They're trying to take your data. And it's not true at all. And the fact that y'all would think that I would even put that on a video to get y'all finessed is wild to me. But hey, first off, Free Cash does not sell your data. They strictly track your progress to make sure you can get paid. Only sign up with an email and password and give no personal information. So I don't know what y'all are talking about. Here's how it goes. You sign up through my link, and inside you see a list of apps and games. Download and play and beat the levels that they tell you. That's the key. You got to complete the requirement. And once you hit the level, the system credits your account. And every time you finish, you get real money. Cash out to your PayPal or get a gift card, while it also being free of charge. The games pay Free Cash to get new players, and Free Cash just shares the money with y'all for trying it out. It may take a little time to get a huge payout, but if you're gonna be on your phone playing games anyway, you might as well make $5 to $10 doing the same thing. I don't want to hold y'all any longer, and I hope I've cleared up some things if you've been sitting on the fence. Hit the link, try a few games, and then DM me. Let me know that you've been winning, actually getting your money. Like I showed y'all earlier, bro made $1,000 off of Free Cash. I'm not promising that's gonna happen every day for y'all, but the fact that there's a possibility for doing something that y'all already do should really be all the convincing that you need, bro.
He received a capital sentence in 1989 for 13 fatal attacks across California in the mid-1980s. But the appeals process dragged on for years.
Bro, the 70s, 80s, bro, 90s, that was a scary time, bro. These motherfuckers was living during other serial killers. Like, it wasn't just one serial killer going on. It was like multiple serial killers alive, moving around, doing things. All right, they had the real problem back then.
During that time, life for Richard Ramirez could have been worse. He got married to a journalist who had written to him in prison and continued
This is probably
to
why our
receive
parents were so paranoid. Like growing up, when my mom would be like, "No, you could watch out because you can't do this," because this is probably why.
letter after letter from fawning admirers. Then, in 2013, Ramirez's health sharply declined. He had been diagnosed with B-cell lymphoma, a form of cancer. The disease spread quickly to his liver and lymph nodes, causing liver failure and secondary infections. He also suffered from chronic hepatitis C and other complications from decades of his illicit substance abuse.
He got hurt.
He was transferred to a hospital facility within the prison system, where his condition worsened still. He developed bed sores, chronic fatigue, and severe jaundice. Those who saw him near the end said he looked decades older than his age, with a waxy complexion, thinning hair, and hollow face.
Yeah, he deserved that one.
At 9:10 a.m. on June 7th, 2013, Richard Ramirez passed away from liver failure secondary
They kept him shaking hands.
to lymphoma. He was 53 years old. No family members claimed his body.
Yeah.
Compared to his larger-than-life fame and legacy,
Charles Manson. Yeah, for sure. He was lit.
Charles Manson's passing was pretty uneventful. By then, he had spent nearly 50 years in prison, serving multiple life sentences for orchestrating the 1969 Tate LaBianca incident. He was one of the oldest inmates in the California prison system. In early 2017, Manson's health began to decline. He was hospitalized several times for intestinal bleeding and other complications. Doctors determined that he had advanced colon cancer and failing organs, but he was too weak for surgery. In his final days, he was moved under guard from Corcoran State Prison to a hospital ward, where he remained conscious but frail. Staff described him as quiet and largely unresponsive. There were no official last words. At 8:13 p.m. on November 19th, 2017, Charles Manson had
his date's coming up, y'all. 10 days from now.
away from cardiac arrest, with respiratory failure and metastatic cancer listed as contributing causes. He was 83 years old.
I like that because he had to sit there in prison for that long. He did have to feel the prison. You know, but there's something nice about these guys getting a violent justice, right? Justice being served violently. But when it's like you bad like that and you got to sit in prison for that long, I'm glad. 50 years? I'm glad.
His body was later cremated after several people fought over his remains, including his grandson and another man who claimed to be his son. After 12 years
They were just trying to sell it so they can get some money.
of terror and 2 years of trial,
Who the hell is this?
Chikatilo's passing lasted less than a second. This Russian madman had been convicted of 52 fatal attacks committed between 1978 and 1990. In court, he often ranted, laughed, and even exposed himself to the jury. But once he was found guilty and sentenced, he quieted down and kept it in his pants. He spent his final months in solitary confinement at Novocherkassk prison, calmed and detached, rarely speaking to prison guards. On the morning of February 14, 1994, he was taken from his cell without warning, likely not knowing that this day would be his
today has
last.
come.
Russian officials at the time
I like how they do that in Russia. Man, give you no fucking meal. You over with. Come on. Today's the day. You just think it's a random Tuesday. Come on, today's the day.
Gave no advance notice of the execution date, and after his appeals were exhausted, he was led to a small soundproof room and ordered to kneel. A barrel was placed to the back of his head and bang.
Damn. Okay. All right, Russia. All right. We ain't playing with you, bro. Everybody else getting this chair. And, nah, bro, we got something that we can handle it right now. Quick. Today's your day. Let's go.
No more Andrei Chikatilo. He was 57 years old. There were no witnesses, other than the officials there and, of course, the man that did the
probably
deed.
whooped his ass
Chikatilo's
first.
body was buried in an unmarked grave. Its location withheld by the state, so no one really knows where he is.
Wow.
Albert Fish had been convicted of taking the life of a 10-year-old girl he lured from her home, a crime that exposed a lifetime of other horrific behavior. Fish claimed his acts were commanded by God and told psychiatrists he expected execution to bring him salvation. The state would accommodate with the execution. The salvation was out of their hands. In his last evening on Earth, at Sing Sing Prison in Ossining, New York on January 16, 1936, he appeared calm as guards led him to the electric chair. Witnesses noted that he even helped the executioner fasten his own straps and showed no fear. When asked for final words, he reportedly said, "I don't even know why I'm here," though the reason was pretty clear to everyone there. At 11:06 p.m., the first current was applied. The voltage surged in multiple cycles, each lasting about 30.
This is when they wanted you to feel it back then. They wanted you to feel that pain. 1936, I didn't even know they were doing that in 1936. So you already know there was all types of technical difficulties and some motion.
To 60 seconds, and was repeated. He was no longer living 3 minutes later. The execution reportedly required 2 jolts to complete, though officials never confirmed whether that was due to technical issues or his body's reaction. The doctor who examined him afterwards described his passing as instantaneous, though some witnesses believed it took longer than usual. His body was buried in Potter's Field on Hart Island, New York, as it was unclaimed. When the noose was hung around HH Holmes' neck and the trap door opened beneath him, the crowd thought it was over. It wasn't. Holmes had spent years deceiving and defrauding anyone who crossed his path. In Chicago during the 1890s, he built a 3-story maze of rooms and hidden chambers, later called the Murder Castle, where several people who entered were never seen again. He was finally caught for taking the life of a business associate during an insurance scam. On the morning of his execution, he had eaten eggs and dry toast, and thanked the guards for their courtesy. When asked for final words, he calmly denied any wrongdoing, claiming responsibility.
I feel like right before it happens, these niggas do feel immense fear, though. Like, they try to keep it gangster all the way up into the point, putting their own stuff on, say words and stuff. But before, I know they feel that, for sure.
For only 2 accidental mishaps. No one believed him. On May 7, 1896, at Moyamensing Prison in Philadelphia, a noose was tied around his neck and the trapdoor fell. But it failed to break his neck cleanly, and he slowly lost his breath. Witnesses said he didn't flinch or struggle, just hung motionless as if waiting for something. He hanged there for nearly 20 minutes before doctors finally confirmed there was no longer a pulse. What came next, Holmes had planned for. He requested that his body be buried 10 feet underground in a coffin encased in cement to prevent anyone from digging him up. The prison, for some reason, granted the request.
Yeah, bro, fuck you. Bro, you lucky we don't just put your body in some type of hungry pig den. Let them just have their way. You know, pigs will eat anything. You're lucky we don't just fry you up. Just say you cooked a little bit and then put you in a pig den, bro.
Sealing him beneath layers of concrete. When his grave was exhumed more than a century later for DNA testing, his mustache was still intact.
Wow.
Harold Shipman was a respected family doctor in England for decades, known for his calm manner and spotless record. By the time he was caught in 1998, investigators believed that he had taken the lives of more than 200 of his patients, making him one of the most prolific life-takers in modern history. He had used his medical position to administer...
That's cheating though, bro. That's cheating.
Lethal doses of painkillers, often signing the death certificates himself. He was convicted in 2000 for taking the lives of 15 people and sentenced to life imprisonment with no possibility of release at Wakefield Prison. On the morning of January 13, 2004, guards found him hanging in his cell. He had torn a bed sheet into strips and tied it to the bars of his window. He was 57 years old. Shipman left no note. Prison staff later said he had shown no signs of distress or mental illness. Some speculated that he timed his passing to spare his wife the loss of his pension, which might have been revoked had he lived beyond his 60th birthday. When guards finally checked Elizabeth Bathory's cell on August 21st, 1614, she was lying on the floor, cold and still. After 4 years of isolation, even her jailers weren't sure when she'd stopped breathing. Known in legend as the Blood Countess, Bathory was accused of committing terrible acts on scores of young girls at her castle in Hungary between 1590 and 1610.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought they would have gotten away with that. 1410, like in her castle. That's something I thought that in a time like that you weren't, like, that just happened and nothing, there was no justice.
The true number of victims remains uncertain. Official records mention around 80, but later accounts claim it to be into the hundreds. In 1610, King Matthias II ordered her arrest. Unlike her accomplices who were executed, Bathory was never tried. Instead, she was imprisoned for life inside Catchtis Castle, bricked into a small set of rooms where food was passed through an opening.
Oh, snap! Oh my God, they did her nasty. Nice. I like that. Inhumane. Bro, the worst types of people, bro, I think they should be treated inhumanely. You want to act like an animal? Let's treat you like one. Or at least we don't treat animals like that no more. But a wild, ravenous animal that keeps hurting people, let's treat you like one of them.
Over the years, her health deteriorated. She reportedly expressed discontent with her confinement, likely worsened by cold, isolation, and lack of light.
Watch out,
Poor
man.
girl.
We ain't worried about that.
By 1614, she could no longer stand. One morning, she told a guard she felt unwell. By the next day, she was gone. She was 54 years old. Her body was buried in the castle grounds before being quietly moved to a family crypt, possibly to avoid vandalism. The woman, once accused of bathing in blood, died in total darkness, alone behind a wall. Ed Gein, despite taking the lives of 2 women and exhuming corpses from local graveyards, was never executed. You see, he had been declared legally insane and was committed to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane in Waukegan, Wisconsin.
I heard that ain't no better though. I heard it's like even probably worse at times because of how crazy the people.
Later transferred to the Mendota Mental Health Institute. In July 1984, Gein was admitted to St. Mary's Hospital after suffering respiratory problems and weight loss. Doctors diagnosed lung cancer that had spread throughout his body. His condition worsened quickly. For several weeks, he was kept under observation, often sedated and drifting in and out of awareness. Nurses describe him as polite but mostly silent, occasionally whispering short answers when spoken to. He died there on July 26, 1984, at age 77, from respiratory failure secondary to cancer. Ed Gein went into the ground the normal way for once. He was buried in Plainfield Cemetery beside his mother. His grave marker was later stolen and vandalized repeatedly before being permanently removed.
Right.
So which of these do you think served the most poetic justice?
Poetic? None are really poetic. Maybe Ted, because the people were outside screaming. Which one y'all think? That being said, like the video, sub up, comment up, miss the channel, bro. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Great y'all. We gone. ADD lad.